Welcome to the Really Likable Geeks podcast. I'm Cadgar.
I'm Dr. Edward Nigma.
And I'm Han Solo.
And this is the podcast where we talk about nerd stuff and things that keep you from going outside, like video games, comic books, anime, and other nerd things alike. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Audible. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring this episode of the Really Likable Geeks podcast. Book of the week. Han.
Thank you. Cadgar. Let's see who's the first one to mess that
crack,
up.
yeah.
Who's the first one that's going to mess that up? The book of this week, Halloween. Spooky, scary skeleton. All right.
And Weens.
Anyways, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. First published in 1959, Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House has been hailed as a perfect work of unnerving terror. It is the story of four seekers who arrive at a notoriously unfriendly pile called Hill House. Dr. Montag, an occult scholar looking for solid evidence of a haunting, Theodora, his lighthearted assistant, Eleanor, a friendless, fragile young woman well acquainted with poltergeists, and Luke, the future heir of Hill House. At first, their stay seems destined to be merely a spooky encounter with inexplicable phenomena. But Hill House is gathering its powers, and soon it will choose one of them to make it its own.
I broke Steve.
Because of that, I forgot about it. You can't tell me that. I forgot.
All right, am I the only person that's actually read this book?
No, I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I was House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's,
But,
have you?
I have not read it, but now that you say that, I have heard about it, and I am inclined to think that this is actually a very... this might be what the Betrayal at House of the Hills based off of.
Oh yeah, that's also true. It's also there's several movies.
Halloween.
There's several movies that were based off of it. The one most recently with McConaughey and Catherine Zeta-Jones. But the original one, House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
the
can't
original one was Vincent Price.
Yes.
Which was amazing. It's a fantastic book. The audio is awesome because I've actually heard this one.
You can
off
get it
Audible.
on Audible.
You can get it on Audible.
Who sponsors us?
RLG.
They're the best.
It's great. It's actually it's one of
great.
the this is one of the radio drama ones,
Yes.
which makes it even better.
Oh, so it's some Orson Welles level.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
So have fun with that.
It is Halloween.
This is Halloween. No, wait, no, that's a Christmas movie.
Yeah. It is Ween. What you know what that means? It's time for some spoopy stories.
You know what the scariest thing is? Not any fiction.
Would it be
such
Matt's
My costume?
costume?
It'll be my costume, right?
Yes, because real life. I was getting to it. I had a whole build up. It was going to be about how scariest thing or things that happen in real life. Turn it on yourself because you deserve it.
I tried. Anyways, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, we've talked about this whole month. We've been talking about movies and novels and video games and all these fictitious
Horror things.
But the real
All
horror
led up to this.
is the real.
Is the
stuff.
real.
The real. And
There's-
that's going to start us off with some real life zombies.
And I'm not talking about that guy in Florida on bath salts who was eating people's face.
I forgot. I completely forgot about
Scary
that.
as that was.
That was incredibly scary, and that dude
Wasn't there a video of that too?
Yes, and he was like eating other people's flesh. But that's not where I'm going with this. I'm going way
He
back.
really Wonka it.
I'm gonna
Everything's
go
eatable.
way
I'm
back
eatable.
to the
that's called
17th and the
cannibalism.
18th century, all the way back when there was colonial era. France owned what is now Haiti, and that is where the original zombies began. Because the slave trade was still in, and they would bring slaves from Africa over to Haiti, and conditions weren't exactly great.
Whoa. Colonial conditions weren't great.
I
now
meant-
you've lost me.
I meant like on the slave ships. Colonial conditions were great, but being chained down to a boat
doubt it.
and not
Syphilis.
fed very well.
Smallpox.
Yeah, fair
Wasn't
enough.
great.
Those were all probably pretty bad.
Yeah.
But a lot of the slaves ended up dying on the boats, and it was believed initially that when the slave died, he'd be returned to freedom and his spirit, back to Africa. Eventually, this gave way to what we now call voodoo, and
Stay away from the voodoo.
That voodoo that you do.
and you do so well.
Goodbye.
Wow, did we just like 4 movies at once?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're on a roll tonight.
But so the voodoo gave rise to what people would see as the spirits of the dead being chained into doing evil deeds. And a lot of people think that the word zombie was originated from, I believe I read this somewhere, it's a Congo word for Zambi, but it's Nzambi.
It's the Zambians.
Is that Afrikaans or Swahili?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's Congo, but it's not Congo.
Well, they speak both.
Out of,
Oh.
And
I'm going to sound like an idiot when I ask this, but it's not. Is it like the Zambian people? Because it's
No. It's
I know what
it's
you're
a
talking
word.
about. I know what you're
It's
talking
a
about.
word.
Zambian.
It's a word. Just
Well, that's why I
Zambi.
was asking, because Zambian people are Swahili,
Yeah.
but Afrikaans is different.
yeah. That's why I was asking.
See,
like
I don't
legitimately.
specifically know what language it's based off of, other than Congo, but I don't know where it came from. Other than the
Congo.
word is zombie or Zambi, and it translates loosely to spirit of the dead.
Ugh, creepy.
Yeah, so those are the original zombies.
So you would use drugs to almost kill someone, and then they would bury them, and then you'd dick them up, and you'd basically be like, all right, well, now you're my slave because you're a zombie.
because you can't go back to your family. They'd have the right set of herbs. This would happen even later into the 1800s. I'm sorry, the 1900s, early 1900s, where the right concoction of herbs can simulate death, put you in a very, very near catatonic state, and without the technology, there's no way to pinpoint that you aren't dead. So someone says, oh, no pulse, because your heartbeat's only going off once every 60 seconds or so. They throw you in a box, they bury you.
Probably not even in a box.
I'll probably just throw you in the dirt and
Yeah.
cover you up.
That's true. Now, if you're lucky, you'll die. You wake up and you just suffocate and die. Because if you're not lucky and the guy who did this to you digs you out before this wears off, you are his. You don't have an option because you don't get to go back to your family. You've already been declared dead. And in a very highly superstitious era, and especially people's, it's not something you could do safely.
Just
Yeah,
coming,
you just
showing
kinda-
back up at home like, hey, I didn't die.
Hi,
Like,
sis. By the way, I know you buried me.
Spirit!
Like literally,
Be gone.
and they did. They
And
were
some
gone.
in some ways in in Haiti, with the zombie thing, they're almost kind of like bred from cannibalism, like cannibals and stuff out there. I would say a lot of the voodoo, because there's like a lot of voodoo stuff. Cannibals, like cannibal tribes, do a lot of that stuff. A lot of herb, a lot of like weird instances of ritualism and all that
could
stuff.
be somewhere where the zombies eating flesh got tacked on.
started.
To what we
That's where
see
it
as
started.
zombies.
Because
Yeah.
I remember the first, like what I heard the origin of the zombie thing is that the hoodoo or the voodoo man would make a hex bag and shove it in a corpse's mouth, and he would sew
Oh
their
yeah,
lips together, and the only way to kill a zombie was to cut their lips
Cut the
open,
lips open.
allowing
And remove the
them,
hex bag.
and allow them to spit the hex bag out.
it's like kind of weird. Like there's so many things in those rural areas out there in the world. It's like, man, what is going down out there? But as far as
Sometimes
being
you don't want to know.
yeah, I don't, because it's
That's why I always keep a trusty blaster nearby.
fair.
Keep going.
But no, it's like you never know what's going on. Like there's so many weird things that happen in those like tribes anyway. What?
So the voodoo is like,
The voodoo.
well, I would say the voodoo is basically a religion.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Good blaster by your side is no match for some hokey religions.
But no, it is like there's so many weird things that happen out there in deep into the forest and the rainforest and all that, like
There's not a
jungles
lot
and all
of,
that and
law.
in the
You get away with a lot.
and just like deep, like deep in the deserts and like certain areas. It's like
like that movie.
The Hills Have Eyes.
No, I was gonna say Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever heard about
Yes.
that?
I did not.
Cannibal Holocaust is a movie created by an insane Spanish director where the actors thought they were actually going to die and be eaten. Because he went out and it was with a real tribe. Like the actors who were playing the tribesmen were part of a real cannibalistic tribe in the rainforest.
They thought
And
at one point they were gonna.
The movie is about these like Americans who are like going
So
through
the
the
actors
rainforest.
thought it was snuff.
Yeah, they thought they were going to die.
Oh my!
Yeah, and this is the
I
movie
mean, that
was
must have made for some
banned.
good film though.
The movie was banned for like 20 years in America. Yeah, it is brutal.
Let me look
Like
at this real quick.
they kill like all the animals that are killed in that movie. Those are really people butchering animals for sacrifices.
Professor
It's
Francesca
gnarly.
Chiardi finds the remains of a film crew in the Amazon and brings the camera footage back to America. That's the plot.
That's the plot of the movie.
Oof.
It's gnarly. So they
1985.
the actors and actresses actually thought they were going to be murdered and eaten because it was getting too real on set.
Yeah, it was during a rescue mission. The professor came across the lost film shot by a missing documentary crew, and that became the film.
I think that might have been in the first found footage movie then, huh?
Yeah, I would say that
That's
counts.
crazy. I forgot about it.
Yeah, it's like
I blocked it
but
out.
it's
It's
like
too brutal.
It's kind of weird. That would be like freaky. I know we're talking about like zombies and stuff like that, but zombies eat people.
Yeah,
But it's
Yeah, they
like, could
do.
you imagine being? I couldn't even imagine being like the crew that goes to document that, and it's like everything that you're seeing, all these skulls, all these bones, it's like those were people once,
Now they did.
and they're just gnawing on them. Like you guys are out of your freaking mind.
Yeah.
I'm probably next. Like I'm
We're
out.
not on set. This is real.
This is real life.
Real stuff.
But the voodoo, man. It's the voodoo.
Here's one for you.
And the juju.
you were mentioning zombies eat people. Do you think zombies could be real? What we imagine as zombies.
Okay, hold on.
Brainless husks that eat people.
Hold on. There was a study that was done about a plant. Okay, you guys remember?
if you're gonna say The
dang.
Last of Us, we're gonna get to that later.
We'll do this later.
That's where I was getting.
We're
to.
getting to
We'll do
that.
this
If
later.
you look at the board,
I know, but you asked, is that
No,
thing?
I'm going somewhere different. Do you honestly think
like necromancy almost
a body
could die and be
will not necessarily be reanimated?
or like a 28 days later thing.
I'm just asking, do you think a body, not a person,
'Kay.
can function?
What form of zombie are we talking? Are we talking about the one people you die and then you come out of the grave, or are we talking about an airborne toxic event that happens and everyone gets infected?
I'm not asking either of those. I'm literally asking purely and simply, do you think a body, a corpse, a non-living person can function? Can a body function?
no.
No.
Okay.
Oh crap. I don't like how happy you got.
While that is technically correct, we are, and there have been several studies done. I can pull them up, but I don't want to like spend too much time sitting
No
here on
worries.
my phone.
No worries.
But there's a doctor whose name escapes me, and I don't want to spend all this time looking it up, that thinks so.
Is it Dr. Frankenstein? You were thinking that, weren't you?
That was exactly what I was gonna say.
No,
Dr. Frankenstein.
no, it's not. But someone asks, it's like, okay, the nitty gritty.
Just get down on it.
Can a dead body function?
No.
And it's, I mean,
Okay, well, let's put it in technical terms.
So why couldn't it? Yeah.
People who are brain dead can still breathe, and for all intents and purposes, they dead.
Well, the body's
You know what
got-
I mean?
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of things that the human body needs
Technically,
to. Okay, like legitimately, it's gonna sound dumb. I was gonna put it in layman's terms. Body generates electricity essentially, and that just think of it as a spark plug.
I'll
And it
say
just
this.
fires. Without that alone, you can't.
okay. What if like
Yeah.
that's
like the most lamest terms I
parts
can make
of
it.
your
I know where you're going.
what if like the parts of your brain that like gave you a personality or anything other than like your most base animal instincts, which are kind of what zombies are. They're the base animal instincts,
Yeah.
like eat, fight, survive.
Yeah. Trudge around.
Yeah.
Grown a lot.
Well, but they're always going towards food.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Except
like they're
for-
drawn
except
to
for the
noise because noise
reproduction.
means food.
Yeah.
Except for the
Aside from-
reproduction
yeah.
and the shelter, it's just I need to survive, so food.
Yeah.
And if you're not a zombie, I'm going to go eat you.
Yeah.
And they do everything in their power to do that.
So what I'm saying is that you can like, is it possible that you could like damage all of your brain except that those two base instincts? Maybe. I mean, the case of Phineas Phage, who got that railroad spike through his brain.
Oh, yeah.
And he like completely changed his personality. Shows us that like, yeah,
Okay.
severe brain damage could do that.
So to answer
Fair.
a little bit here from what I know and what I've read, a dead body, a corpse,
Dead
as
ass.
far as we know, no. A corpse does not function.
I didn't think so.
However, there are several diseases that put you in a state that could be construed as very zombie. Even some that take you so far as
salts.
almost brain dead.
salts.
Drugs, not disease. Kind of.
hey man,
Hey, man. Like,
we live in America. Drugs are the disease.
Nah, man, drugs. Drugs are the enemy. It's a war on drugs.
That's right.
One of the diseases that he throws out, and I do not know this one, but it's apparently Kluver-Bucy syndrome. This guy who is
Gary
a
Busey
neuropathologist at Boston University, and apparently he's an advisor to the Zombie Research Society.
Why is that a real thing?
Don't know.
Zombie Research
Research
Society.
That
It's a real
sounds
thing.
just as stupid as
Question.
people who are like, "Oh, I'm a cryptozoologist." No, you're not. You're an idiot.
Where is this place based?
The Zombie Research Society?
Yeah.
Let me look that up real quick after I go through this.
Because that will
Because-
tell me everything.
Because this guy says
look
that
that
the
up.
disease that I'm talking about here, I'm going to butcher this, the Kluver-Bucy disease,
Gary
it
Busey
gives
disease.
you symptoms similar to a zombie.
Okay.
You become mostly desensitized to
Where
the
is
world
this
around
here?
you, but you react to, let's say, outside stimuli,
Right.
and it's usually violent. You have a hamburger. Someone is going to take your hamburger, and you react more like a primal animal would. That's yours. I'm going to destroy you.
Okay.
But in a like almost to you're going to eat them now kind of way.
Right.
These are things that like these are bad. And there's a lot of different symptoms here that give you the appearance of a zombie. Not so much like the walkers, but
So where is this disease prevalent then, and where did it come from?
you know what? Let me click on it because
Came from ducks.
I don't know a whole lot about it.
Ducks are cute. And then zombie duck.
Okay, the Zombie Research Society has people who are like, "Oh, I was in The Walking Dead." Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so
We're not
link
going to stay
didn't-
on zombies this whole time, by the way. We are going to move on to other stuff eventually.
George Romero is on the advisory board. So not
Yeah,
real.
We're just going to disprove the crap out of this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
But the neuropathologist here, his name is Peter Cummings, believes that there are certain diseases that can give you the appearance or at least simulate zombie-like functions, and not necessarily like Walking Dead, you're just brainless, but like you were saying, a zombie is basically your other needs are cut out. You're very primal.
Or like a kind of variation on locked in syndrome,
Yes.
where you're completely 100% brain function, but you have absolutely no control over your limbs. You know, one where like I can only like shuffle step and like make horrible noises, like trying to talk. You know, like people who
Right.
have like Bell's palsy, like have difficulty moving one side of their body. So something like that, like a weird combination of
Do
locked
we-
in and Bell's
do
palsy
we
from a
think-
stroke, and
people can die.
people are like, "Oh, zombie!"
and then be alive again. There are a couple things here and there. I read a few. There's cases that pop up every now and then. There was a little girl in the Philippines who died, pronounced dead, no pulse. They throw her in a box. They bury her, but before they bury her, at the wake, someone opens the box and they see her head move. She sits up and asks for a glass of water.
No.
Everyone freaks out.
What?
They rush her back to the hospital.
But that's the Philippines, though.
where they give her a glass of water, and re-diagnose her, and she lives.
So she had locked-in syndrome, and it wasn't diagnosed.
Yes. Now here's another one.
It's still weird.
Here's another one. This is Brazil.
sucks.
Still
This
sucky,
is
but
Brazil.
yeah, weird.
A little boy dies. They don't wait even a couple hours. Throw him in a box at the funeral, like everyone's in the church
Oh,
or whatever.
jeez.
He sits up from the box and, just like the little girl, asks for a drink of water.
Oh, my.
And everyone is freaking out, losing their minds about this miracle. They rush him with water. 5 minutes later, he lays back down after his drink of water and dies again.
They didn't take him out of the coffin? What the hell? Okay,
Yes. So truly zombies.
here's the thing though.
No.
We don't have any stories like that in first world countries.
Correct.
With like actual medical equipment.
Because, and this goes all the way back to
My
that
mind's
18th
being
century.
like, messed with right now.
Those herbs don't get detected
Herbs.
under the technology.
Yeah.
But
Herbs.
nowadays, if someone tried to throw that cocktail on you and you get rushed to the hospital and they think you're dead, they're going to put you on the EKG and go, oh,
He ain't dead.
he's not dead.
He mostly dead.
He's
They must have come
mostly
out at
dead.
night. Mostly.
mostly dead.
Oh my goodness.
All right,
Zombies could exist.
let's move on.
Mummification.
Zombies do exist.
Steve has
Sort
a
of.
spoopy stare.
Oh, now we're gonna start moving to me and my spoopy story. So I'm gonna talk about the Ouija board.
That you haven't told us.
Yeah,
Wait
your
a minute.
spoopy story.
Ouija board is
It's
Ouija
toy.
board is a fun little
It's
toy.
Mattel flop.
It's a
All right,
Mattel toy.
little history about the Ouija board. Ouija board was, I think it was 1891, 1890, 1891 is when the first one kind of like hit the shelves, and the whole thing, the whole purpose behind it was you can talk and relive the past,
Conduct a
future,
seance.
and past, future, and present, and that was it. And then it slowly, over the course of time, it started falling into the more demonic side of stuff. A lot of the Wiccans use
The
it.
evil
and,
occult.
that was the kind of thing. Like a lot of the people that would do like Gothic, stuff. Ouija fell into that society pretty hard because it was like, oh, we're
Did you just say
Stuck in
Goth
there.
and Wiccan are evil?
what? No,
That's what I heard.
did I say that? I don't think I
You
said that.
said
I just said
Wiccan.
I said Wiccan and Goth and falling into things.
He's
that
saying
were
he's saying
evil.
it became like part of that like subculture of like, oh, we're so
Oh.
dark. So
Yeah.
people
The
not
stereotype that Goth and Wiccan are
yeah,
Yeah.
people not
Okay.
understanding
I'm
that.
not saying Gothic and Wiccan people are evil. I'm
Gotcha.
saying
He's
like,
saying that there's a bunch of Gothic and Wiccan people who are stupid and don't know that the Ouija board is about as a cult
Yeah.
as this glass.
yes. Which, by the way, you
It's
can
half empty.
fun little tidbit here. You can make a Ouija board out of 2 glasses and some pieces of paper.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but then again, that falls
Why do
into
you need
the,
two?
huh?
Why do you need two?
It's if you have multiple people.
Oh.
So
come on, dude.
yeah.
No, I
it's-
didn't know. I literally didn't
No,
know.
yeah, for multiple people because you could
Because you only need the one to go to the letters.
you could. There's
Well,
certain
there's
things
also
with
yes,
you would
no
put the
numbers.
papers underneath the glasses and lit the glasses and all sorts of stuff would happen.
Gotcha.
It's kind of weird. So yeah, there's makeshift Ouija boards, but I always thought that the Ouija board. I always thought legitimately that the Ouija board was such one person's the game master and everyone puts their hand on the piece and the one person moves it and everyone just follows. That's what I always just
Yeah,
thought.
it's BS.
That's what I thought, I was like, okay, there's no way that and then I saw the movie Ouija. And I was like, okay, that's terrible.
They made a movie?
It's so
It was
awful.
awful.
It's so terrible.
It's terrible. But I always thought that that's what it was. Now you remember Danny. Matt have a mutual friend named
Oh, I
Danny.
remember.
Now, I lived with Danny
That
for a
crazy
while.
guy.
I lived with Danny for a while. We were in a band together. And just, I don't know what happened. One night, Danny was like, we're hanging out, and Danny was like, I have a Ouija board. You guys ever had a Ouija board? And used it? And I was like, now me, I've heard of a Ouija board. I never touched it. I always thought I was just like, oh, Ouija board, whatever. But anytime that I could recollect, what is a Ouija board? It's always some kind of conjuring device.
Satan.
That's what I always, because that's all it is in the movies. Ouija board, all this stuff.
6.
So
It's not moving.
yeah, it's weird,
Oh, good. That's 4. We're good.
Now at the time that I was doing the Ouija board stuff, I was kind of oblivious to all. I just always assumed it was conjuring some kind of demon thing, whatever. At the time, I was dating a Wiccan. I don't think you remember Erica,
By name.
Yeah.
I never met her.
She was a
stories.
Wiccan, and she
sorry.
kind of was telling me about the Ouija board and all this stuff, and I didn't.
Did she say it was like anything like actually occult?
I'm gonna
A little
pause
bit.
this. I'm
Oh,
gonna
it's
pause this.
such the BS.
I'm gonna pause this real quick.
Sure.
He broke first.
Yeah, he did.
I did.
Yeah, you said that.
Oh, I said Matt.
Yep.
My bad. All right. Anyways, so she was kind of telling me about it a little bit. And I was kind of, it was all hokey. I always just assumed it was hokey. Well, over the course of time, I know it's a long story. I'm going to shorten it up here, but over the course of time, we never ended up doing the Ouija board for a while. Me and Danny and our friend Leo and everyone. We always talked about we should do the Ouija board. Like, no, it's like it was always because when we were gonna do it, it was like the creepiest times. It was like the wind's blowing really hard. It's really
Friday
cold.
the 13th.
It's whatever. Like the power went out the night before. We're like, no Ouija board. Like
Danny just got stabbed in the back. Like,
whatever. But we'd always sit around. We would tell stories. Well, Danny had this story in about like how he in the house he would like see things. Like or hear certain things that were like they're not like sounds like the house would normally make, like it's trying to like set itself. It was just sounds, like he would like hear people talking and
The alien from
whatever.
Science?
I don't know, dude, but just like stuff like that. Like I don't know, he would hear stuff and see stuff, and he had experiences with his friends too that like he couldn't really explain. But so anyways, I was like, it must be all that Ouija board stuff. That's what started it. I was like, must be all that Ouija board juju, huh? And he was like, well, I guess let's just do the Ouija board one night then. And so we did, and a lot of weird stuff happened. Like legitimately. I usually I don't really have a ton of like ghost and creepy stories, but the Ouija board was one of the most like real that anything had ever felt for me. For like experiencing anything paranormal or whatever. Besides the alien stuff, like that was the most real that it had ever felt. Legitimately. So it was like me, my buddy Leo, and Danny, and a few other friends were standing around, and Danny did it up. Like he did it with like the candles and the salt ring and the whole juju. Now I didn't understand the salt ring thing, but there was some stuff that happened. One of the things that happened, for example, we're doing the Ouija board thing, and it's funny because me and my friend Leo, Danny was doing like he was like the one asking the questions, and it was doing his thing, and me and Leo were looking at each other like, this is hokey, this is real hokey. Like we're all just following Danny's hand, and the board, the piece, I can't remember what it's called, but kept falling off of the board. It would keep coming off the board, and Danny would be like, okay, everyone, let's like reset and like put it back up, start all over. Nothing would happen. Couldn't figure out why for like the longest time. So. Anyways, we're like, whatever, the Ouija board thing. Oh, Danny, it's all you. He's like, no, I swear it's not. So we did it one night without him. He's like, I'm just going to sit here. And it would move and do all this stuff and whatever. We would follow it. And we had the circle of salt around us. And we're doing it. And Leo starts freaking out. Like, he just starts losing his mind. He's like, something touched me, something touched me, something touched me, something touched me. My back is, like, burning. And we're like, okay, like... maybe one of the candles fell on him, something like that. There was a break in the salt behind him, just a little bit, and he had a gnarly, like it was like almost like a first degree burn, like on his back, like from whatever. No candles behind him, nothing. Can't really explain it. Like I know you're looking at me like I'm nuts, but I'm dead serious. I can't explain it. Can't explain it. There was a grandfather clock. You remember the grandfather clock? You know where the TV was, where we would play games? There was a grandfather clock in the hallway.
Just to the right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That grandfather clock didn't work. It didn't work. We were using the Ouija board and it went off one night. The gong started going off one night. And as long as I lived there for years, that thing never went off. We used a Ouija board another night. This starts going off. We're like, what is this like? This can't be a coincidence. It can't be.
So you're telling me all these spirits are in your house.
I don't know.
But they only come out when you pull the Ouija board out.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Whatever's going on only happened when we would use the Ouija board. Well, we couldn't. Here's the really weird thing about all of it. We couldn't figure out, but the piece kept going off of the board. It just kept, like, it would always go in different
Dead guy
areas.
into the floorboards.
Well, no, we just couldn't figure out. We couldn't figure it out. We're like, why does it keep doing that? Well, it was like a thing to where when it goes off the board, you're supposed to continue to follow it to wherever it would go. You're supposed to. So it comes off the board, you're not supposed to be like, oh, we'll start over. Because you're basically like ending the phone call and at that point, when everyone lifts their hands up,
Sure.
in the phone call.
Psychic
essentially.
phone call.
I guess.
Well, that doesn't make sense because you're texting. So, like, that's
Yeah, but but if it comes off the board, you're supposed to follow it, and we're
So
like,
whatever it is trying to tell you something.
it's switching
and y'all
so
are like,
we
nah.
would-
so it's like on Apple when you find my friend.
yeah, essentially.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, so we tried it. We were like, okay, once we learned that, we're like, well, if it falls off the board, we'll just follow it. So we did. Comes off the board, and we just followed it across the carpet, across the tile floor, all the way into the wall, and it would just stop, and it would just hit the wall, and then we would like, okay. And like, there's something in the wall, ooh, you know, whatever. And then like, legitimately one night when we were doing it, the thing did like kind of move by itself without us touching it. Like we had it on, and we let go to like hit like no or something like that, and it did shift by itself. Don't really know what that's all about. We always thought like maybe some magnets or something in the board or whatever. We still can't explain that, but after we started using the Ouija board, a whole bunch of stuff, weird stuff started happening in the house. And like I said, I lived there for years. Couldn't explain any of it, but it was just like I would think I'd be home by myself, and I would think that I'd be talking to Danny, like, hey Danny, I thought you were gonna be home like later. No one was there. Like I would hear people come in the house, and like no one was there. Hear people talking, nobody's there. Lights and stuff was just like randomly turn off at night and turn on, and I could hear like, it was just weird stuff happening all the time. So we were like, we need to get rid of this freaking thing. So we threw it away, and it came back in the house. Danny's dad was like, what'd you throw this out? Threw it out. Oh, well, we threw it out. We don't want it anymore. Well, I got that for you. Threw it in someone else's trash. It came back in the house. Oh, what'd you get rid of your Ouija board for? It just kept coming back. We couldn't get rid of the freaking thing. We burned it. Lit off fireworks. It was awesome. A couple days later, my ex-girlfriend bought a brand new one for us.
Why?
Because she's like, oh, I thought you guys liked doing the Ouija board thing. I thought I'd get you guys a better one. We're like, you got to be freaking joking me. Is this real life?
That one too?
Huh?
Did you burn that one too?
No, I made her keep it. I was like, no. But she would bring it over. And we're like, no, don't bring this stupid. We couldn't get rid of it. Like, couldn't get rid of the Ouija board. Couldn't get rid of it. Now, do I think that, like, a lot of it could be hokey? Yeah, it could be. But me personally, you guys are looking at me like I'm absolutely out of my mind. Absolutely out of my mind. But I'm
I didn't say that.
dead. You can tell me I'm out of my mind. I'm dead
I'm going to tell you
serious.
right now. This is not a mystery.
They're
You're out of your mind.
I don't believe in like a lot of this stuff. I don't believe in that stuff. I don't. I legitimately don't. But I don't have anything else to chalk it up to. I have nothing else to. I got nothing else to explain like about why this stuff would be happening because it never happened before until we started using the Ouija board. All of us.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so they
Seeing
did,
stuff like like everything.
You're
like
expecting
okay,
it.
the grandfather clock started gonging one night, and Danny's dad Don was like, "Why does that happen? That thing is never like what?"
Going after that?
Yeah, it just kept going.
Like, so it just started working again?
Oh yeah, just randomly, and he was like, "There's no reason why this should be working. No reason."
I'm not what's the word for a clock maker? There's a word for it.
Oh, God.
I'm not one of those.
Okay.
But I do know that there are a lot of studies done on like the Ouija board phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it's like an unconscious bias
Okay.
kind of a thing that like leads people to be absolutely certain I'm not moving it. It's moving and my hands are just on it. But the fact is that if it moved on its own, you wouldn't have to touch it.
Right.
The simple fact that just from a scientific perspective, the simple fact that you're putting your hands on it means that someone is influencing it.
Of course.
Because
That's
it doesn't.
what I thought.
Because if you just put it down and no one touches it, it doesn't move.
Agreed.
So what would be the difference between someone touching it and someone not touching it?
I don't.
You know what I mean? But that's my point.
Yeah.
Is that I'm not saying it's not creepy. Of course,
No,
it's creepy.
Very creepy.
But the simplest explanation is one of you guys were unconsciously moving it. One of you was.
Yeah, that's what I would just assumed. But then there was just that one time where it just kind of like ticked over by itself, and we're just like,
Like someone.
no way it should. And it was like fast, like pretty quick.
Bump the table, earthquake.
That's what I thought.
I mean,
Yeah.
But like, there's just
It could
no-
be any number of things.
I have tried for years and years to try to explain like the stuff that had happened in that house after we used the weed. Because up until that point, we'd never experienced anything weird. Maybe because we
that's-
weren't looking for it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly. And it's
but
like-
did you ever find out what was in the wall?
Yeah, did
no.
you take a sledgehammer to it like
no,
Kevin Bacon style?
Don't want to know.
Move out of that house and why
Huh?
When did you move out of that house?
What did I move? I was like,
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
This
I
was
moved
back
out-
in the
I just-
Friday night
I
S&M
moved
days.
out. I went want to live somewhere else. Like there was no like major reason, but yeah, there was just all sorts of stuff in that house.
Did you guys ever try to find the history of the house? Like maybe there's something that
Yeah, we did.
you didn't like.
Someone die there?
We couldn't find anything on the house. You know, like we tried.
It'd be
but-
one thing if like, oh, like this person died there.
Yeah.
Because someone died in my parents' house.
It was the house
And
with the
like-
clock in its walls.
Yeah.
But it was just
That was
weird.
great.
Like
the only clockmaker
after the
who
Ouija board
murdered
thing.
23 babies. Like,
Well,
what
here was the really weird thing about that was Danny's dad, didn't know
Yeah, I
that we
remember
we were doing the Ouija board. He didn't know, and I think it was like a couple weeks or something after we started doing it. He came home and he was like, "When do you guys like give your girlfriend like the keys to the house or something like that?" Or like, "No, why?" He's like, "'Cause I keep hearing a girl like talking to me or something like that, and I keep thinking that it's like one of your girlfriends are coming here to like you're talking to you guys, but you guys aren't here." And he's like, like it happened multiple times, and he's like,
Honestly,
was
there's
dead
like
set.
10 different ways that could have been.
I know.
Okay,
Like,
and-
someone,
But it never happened.
Someone
I can
outside with the
already
window
tell you.
open, echoing, like
I can tell you right now how that happened.
TV.
But okay,
That man was crazy.
I mean, he was a little weird, but
Okay.
he wasn't crazy. I mean, he just was dumb.
He's
Okay,
giving.
yeah,
I don't
he was a
know.
little
I don't.
crazy.
I don't know either of these people. Okay, well there you go. Like the dude is crazy.
But
This is
he
not
was
a story
sane.
we're gonna
He
say
wasn't
on the
like
air,
wacko.
but
He was sane, but he was just like an idiot.
And-
Like, he's just,
okay.
he's just a jerk.
So
Like,
then, there,
he was
We'll
sane.
go over the story off the
Well,
air.
okay,
The man was
let's talk about-
5150.
let's move on to
Yeah.
my thing.
But anyways, Ouija boards. I won't. Just in closing,
So if you guys
I
want
don't
to
support
buy
the use of
Steve
Ouija
a
boards.
Ouija board,
No.
Oh my God! Yes.
I will.
yes, buy
Send
Steve Ouija boards.
I will pummel you. I do not want
Everyone
one.
that sends
I
you
am
one?
legitimately like, I'm like I am terrified of Ouija boards. Like
This is
seriously,
Oh yeah,
Matt, I will murder you. Stuart, I will murder you.
You know
On
what
the
that means,
podcast,
right?
it's on here.
then we'll haunt you.
You know what that
through the
means,
Ouija
right?
board.
I will
Ouija board.
seriously. You guys give me a Ouija board, I'm gonna pummel you. I'm going to flip out. I don't want it. Don't want
Is it really that bad?
Because then there's proof that it's premeditated.
Oh, that's true.
I'm not gonna murder anyone. Jeez.
Thank you. All right, let's move on.
Metaphorically, I'm gonna murder you.
Some real life spoopy.
Ouija boards is real life spoopy.
No, it's not.
It's fake life, spoopy.
Yeah.
Don't give me a Ouija board.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it on your front porch.
In perhaps you guys have probably seen this YouTube video. It's been around for a few years, and
Fat
it's
kid with a lightsaber.
incredibly.
I love that video.
No, it's scary in a different way.
Ooh, all right.
Not pre-diabetes, scary, but
Skinny kid with a lightsaber.
yeah,
go ahead.
I
Let's hear
listened to your whole Ouija thing without saying anything.
Because you already thought I was whack on the moment I, said
didn't
Ouija.
say it though. that's being polite.
Good.
You guys have probably seen this security footage from the elevator. So in 2013, Eliza Lamb, who is a student who was visiting Los Angeles, was reported missing.
So weird.
Her parents hadn't talked to her for a few days, and no one had seen her.
So weird.
And
definitely missing.
the hotel guests were complaining about water pressure and the water tasting funny and it coming out a weird color out of the faucets.
It's coming out like a brown color.
Yeah. So one of the
kind of
Metallic-y
foggy.
taste.
Yeah.
so one of the hotel employees goes up to the roof because they have a water tower, and he opens it up. He unlocks it and then opens it up, and inside they find Eliza Lamb. So
Who is no longer missing?
yeah, they found her dead. They found her dead. So they
She once was lost,
the-
and now she's found.
yeah. So the police begin investigating, and they
As you
find
do.
surveillance footage, and the footage is
It's eerie.
incredibly creepy without sound because it's just elevator.
I just want to know who she was running from.
So she
she looking
runs.
for? What
do you
She
mean, who?
runs
Or
into
what?
the elevator. She is hiding. You know how like you hide
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the
to
footage,
one
but-
corner of an elevator, so you're
peek
behind
your
the
head
wall.
out.
So she's doing that. She's peeking out. She's like slamming on the button,
Close faster, close
Yeah.
faster. By the way, that doesn't work.
and she
Truth.
like the door's closed, and she rides the elevator up a few floors, not to her floor,
Just some floor.
some floor.
First button she hit.
Yeah, and she gets out, and instead of walking out of an elevator like a normal person, she like kind of peeks.
She does like the peek thing.
peek around, like, and then she kind of like runs out.
Yeah.
And so the police investigation goes on. That's extremely weird. So they're like, oh, well, maybe she was, murdered.
Who's she running from?
Yeah, who she's running or on drugs. So they do the autopsy.
Or she's drunk.
There is no official cause of death.
Yep.
They don't know how she died. So they begin to think suicide, right? Like maybe she just, killed herself in an extremely odd fashion.
But then wouldn't they have been drowning cause of death?
Yeah, there's no water in her lungs.
Super weird.
And she wasn't in there. She
So
wasn't in there.
she
She wasn't in there
breathing
long enough
in
to
the tank.
starve to
Yeah.
death. The other problem was
She sure
that
didn't die of thirst.
the water tower was locked from the outside,
Yeah.
and the door was far too heavy
For her to open.
for someone of her size to have opened.
And it was
She
locked.
wouldn't have had the key.
And it was locked on the outside.
She didn't have the key.
Yeah.
She got in somehow.
And it was locked behind
she
her.
managed to unlock, get inside, close it, and lock it from the inside.
Yes. Like padlock style lock.
So weird.
So to this day,
No one knows.
it's an unsolved case for LAPD, and no one's really quite sure.
It'll, you know what? Give it some time. It'll randomly just open up, and we'll find out why.
Well, you know what's super cool is we're about to get all the Kennedy papers.
Oh, I saw
I'm
that
so
today.
excited about that.
I saw that today.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want about Trump. Like, I'm happy about that. I really. The
assassination.
JFK investigation reports that the FBI has sealed for the past 50 years. Every 25 years, they either have to reopen the case or allow it to be open to the public because of the Freedom of Information Act. So for the past 50 years, 50 plus years, they keep reopening the case.
And then it goes
so that
cold.
they won't release it to the public.
Yep.
President Trump has declared that this week, or I'm sorry, no, because we're in the future. So it's already happened.
Yeah.
The Kennedy,
What
we've
time was that?
already read them. Remember how that one thing, guys, that we
Yeah.
read?
But it was all redacted.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
That would be really
I'm
cool.
stoked. I haven't read it yet, but I shall. You know what's funny about what's creepy about that? It actually is something that's legitimately creepy. Is that there is a photo? I think I brought this up on the podcast before, but there's a photo from the side that the shot came from, where it hit Kennedy and blew his whole head off and everything. There was a person who took all the video. Oh wow, dude, come on! All the video.
Oh, yeah, too soon.
It's still pretty tragic, but like I know it's been a while, but still, but like
54 years.
all the video and photos were shot from this one side.
Yeah, the
same size.
Zapruder film.
But there's one person in the shots on the other side of the street shooting a photo this way.
Yeah, they never found him.
And they never found her.
They never. No. There's two people. There's the Baba Bushka
it
lady.
two?
Yeah, because there's one guy.
You're
There's
right.
the guy with the camera.
Yeah, and then there's a lady.
And then there's the old lady with the babushka.
They found the guy,
who's
right?
not. No, they never found him.
I know they haven't found the lady. I couldn't remember.
They didn't
about the
find
guy.
either of them because they would have had pictures of the grassy knoll.
Yeah, which shooting that way would have like opened up a whole new.
The other thing was that
Thing.
people are saying like
Stop,
or
man.
from the sewer.
What?
The other thing was that people were saying that there was a shot fired from the sewer.
Yeah, and if you guys were under the impression that who was the
Lee
driver
Harvey Oswald.
shot him, you're out of your mind.
Oh, the driver.
The driver.
Oh no, that's idiotic.
Everyone thought for sure. It's like, no, that's not what
It
happened.
doesn't make sense. The security guard sitting in front of Kennedy
no one
had
sees
the
this.
round in his leg.
Yeah,
From
like
okay, but there's
conspiracy
questions.
theories. I'm just debunking.
Okay,
it,
well,
basically.
there's questions about that too because like the way that they found the round that was in his leg was like they put him on the gurney and they rolled him, and they're like, oh, there it is,
Yeah,
and there was just a round, but it wasn't at all misshapen or mashed
Yep.
like a round does when it punctures through someone's head and then goes into someone's leg.
yeah,
So
it's so weird.
I want to read Ben.
Yeah, I gotta read this thing really quick. I want to remind everyone that this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Audible. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring this episode of the Really Likable Geeks podcast. Audible has an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original shows, news, and more that you can listen to on your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. For our audience, Audible is offering a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial to give you an opportunity to check out their service. We recommend to you Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which you can keep even if you cancel. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/RLG and browse their unmatched selection of audio content. It's that easy. audibletrial.com/RLG. Again, that's audibletrial.com/RLG. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. That's my nipple. Oh, no.
The next spoopy unsolved mystery. So we're going to go back in time a little bit. 1943.
Oh, so
Not
we're
as
going to
far
talk
back as
about
I
the...
thought we were going to.
Are we going to talk about the zombie thing?
Oh, no, that's next.
Dang.
Okay, calm down.
I was excited.
Calm down.
Because that's like... Stop!
Calm down. We're almost there.
He's making me laugh.
Let's do this one mystery because I think you guys will get a kick out of it.
I love
Okay.
mysteries.
I'm not sure you've heard of it.
Dr. Edward Enigma loves
He
mysteries.
loves riddles, which
Mini
is
mysteries.
kind of a mystery.
a little
I guess.
mystery.
All right. 1943. 4 boys were poaching in Hagley Woods in the United Kingdom when they found a human skeleton in the hollow of an elm tree. Like in
Legit
the
question:
trunk.
is this like King's Forest poaching?
Yes.
So this is like what the Queen's Land.
Yes.
Okay.
Hagley Woods is Queensland. One of them reported this discovery to the police. Upon investigation, it was revealed that the corpse's mouth was stuffed with taffeta and hidden, along with their body, a gold wedding ring and a shoe.
So Prince Charming.
No arrests have been made to this day.
So weird. You know, it's one of those things where it's like makes you think that you can't get away with murder.
Apparently you can if
some
you
weird
do it
stuff
in
out
an
there, man.
ultra creepy fashion. So if you don't know, taffeta is an extremely expensive...
He doesn't know what it is. I know.
Okay. If you don't know, taffeta is an extremely expensive lace. As in, people in the 40s who could afford that were 1% of the population.
Oh, so basically he narrowed it down, or she, I don't know.
Yeah,
the killer
to
narrowed
someone
it down,
rich.
and
It had to have been someone
still
rich.
Didn't matter.
Yeah. And also, the body was shoved into a tree that had been hollowed out.
Which means that was definitely premeditated,
Yeah.
because it takes a while to hollow out a tree.
That's incredibly creepy.
What year was that?
1943.
Yeah,
With
that
a
was
shoe
So during
and
the
a wedding
Blitz.
huh?
During the Blitz.
Yeah.
So even more insane.
So it's like that's so creepy.
I don't even know.
I guess so
I don't know where to
creepy.
begin with that.
Yeah, that's a weird.
Like I want to make a
one.
Cinderella joke because of the shoe, but
The man with the one red shoe.
I got nothing.
There's a
You'd think I'd know this.
another. Have you guys ever heard of the Axemen of New Orleans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
heard
don't
about
know the
this?
story, but I know the name.
Okay, so for like 2 years, this guy was going around New Orleans.
And just murdering people with an axe.
Yeah,
That make
he murdered at least 12 people with an axe. Just butchered them like
Those are rookie numbers.
Lizzie Borden style.
Zodiac killer, get on his level.
He also, well, the other thing was that he wrote to the police
That's
taunting them.
bad, but
He-
awesome.
He claimed to be a demon or a daemon, as in the Daemon, unholy, not of this earth, as well as a fan of jazz.
When was this?
That's not a joke. Like during
Yep.
the 50s,
So Ouija boards had been
he was
around.
he was a huge fan of jazz.
Thomas
board
Joe
did-
and Skulls and the Suckets gang.
He honestly, in his letters to the police and the newspapers, he vowed to not attack any house that hired a jazz band to sing at night. Yeah,
All night.
I'd have been like,
Yep.
hire him.
he was never caught.
Oh, dude.
But the police.
I'll bet you jazz bands made some money for a while.
Well, okay, and that's what the thing. That's the thing. The police believed that it was an out
It
of
was
work
a-
jazz
yeah.
musician.
I mean,
But like the level to which you would go to get a job,
You'd hate
like,
to be a jazz
that's
guy.
it?
you'd hate to be a guy doing
Yeah.
jazz in those times. Like, what if they come and ask me if it's me?
Yeah. Well, one thing, it's like, oh, well, guaranteed job, but, I'm suspected of murder.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, someone died and it wasn't me.
Gonna cut your family up with this axe.
I mean, what?
I mean,
Jello pudding.
oh, not that.
Saxophone solo.
It's one
I
thing.
just wanted to throw that in because that was funny.
It's one thing to butcher people with an axe, but that guy,
This freaking guy.
that guy,
Yeah,
Dr.
there's so many like
Huxtable.
weird, like never solved stories out there.
There's
Of people
so
being killed
many.
and people seeing stuff and hearing stuff and
Bigfoot.
dude. Okay,
Oh, I started
It's not
something.
real.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
I know. I got a friend. No, I don't believe in Bigfoot
Okay, good.
at all. But I got a friend. Had a friend of my ex. Anyways, dude would go. I can't even. He would go. He would go Bigfoot hunting, and he has audio recordings,
Of what?
Uh,
Him being an
just-
idiot in the woods?
just like stuff. Like he's got video and all this.
Does
like
he not know that that was fake?
no, he totally believes that there's
The guy admitted it.
He
the
totally-
guy who made it.
He's like, there's a family of them living up in the
there's not.
mountains.
No, they're not.
He's like, oh, dude, he has a story. It made me laugh so hard. He's like, we were sitting in the tent one night, and a log rolled down right into our tent, and the only way it could have done it is if a Bigfoot threw it. And I'm like, you're out of your freaking mind.
No, it's called rock slides. They
That's what I said.
happen because nature.
He goes, the way that the claw marks were on it, and I was like, or whatever, paw
Or like
marks, or
any
handprints
number
on it. I
of
was like,
any animals in the woods in the Pacific Northwest.
yeah, he was out of his freaking mind.
Claw marks on it?
Bigfoot's not real.
You mean a brown bear
Not
scratched his back
bears.
with it?
No, crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
cool, yeah.
bears.
Got it.
or
That guy's
anything.
out of his
All right.
freaking mind.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about fungus among us.
Oh, we're gonna do
The
it.
fungus among us. Khadgar here is incredibly excited.
Last of Us is one of my favorite games.
Would you? You
No,
know what?
this is yours.
I'm gonna hate me. No, I was starting with a thought and realized that sentence didn't make sense grammatically.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ostracize myself a little bit here. I have not played The Last of Us.
Ugh.
I know, right?
What are you doing with yourself?
There's an
I guess
HD
I'm gonna
version
go
of it.
tag in with our producer now because I need to be off the show apparently.
They're like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I'm not okay.
They're like,
I
they
have
play Last of
heard-
Us.
I have heard it is a fantastic game, and
It
I
is.
definitely plan to get around to playing it, but I haven't. So when Stuart brought it up to me,
I got a ladder.
I
Some
I
pretty
don't.
good things with that ladder.
I knew of the creature, but I didn't know much about the game. But in The Last of Us, there is a mushroom-headed zombie monster.
Clicker.
Is it not a mushroom-headed zombie monster?
Yeah, it's called a clicker.
Thank you.
It's a clicker, right?
It is clicker.
Yeah.
So the mushroom-headed zombie monster, also known as a clicker,
Fair.
is
They're
an
terrifying
enemy that you
sounding.
can come across, and they are apparently terrifying.
They
Well,
are.
Very much so.
they are based off of something, and
Mushroom
we're going back to zombies because I love me some zombies. I love me some Left 4 Dead. It's all good. They're based off of real life. This is stranger than fiction, and it is real, and it is horrifying. The fungus that I'm talking about is a strain that I cannot pronounce for the life of me. If I had it in front
I
of
can
me,
find
I
it.
could look
Hold
it
on.
up. It's something to the effect of Oropholicus, and then I forget the last one. They'll find it.
It's Ophiocore diceps unilateralis or something like that.
Unilaterus.
I should have known that one.
Yes, you should've.
Unilateralis.
Orphea cordyceps unilateralis.
Orpheocordyceps unilaterus. Well then, this fungus.
Good job, Han.
This fungus, thankfully, for the time being, only infects insects, specifically ants of a particular, and they call them like a tribe, I guess. It's a species of ant that gets infected, and it happens in rainforesty areas.
Like the rainforest. I'm helping you.
The Amazon jungle. What happens is that spores from this fungus will get into an ant somehow, some way, and it kills the ant from inside and then takes over its body. And the ant loses its connection to the queen, and it gets one directive. Go up as high as you possibly can. And it reaches the top of the canopy that it can reach, and it latches on with a death grip to the underside of a leaf, where it will sit for somewhere between 4 to 10 days
Yeah.
while a cyst, we'll call it, grows out of its head, eventually exploding
Yeah.
in an effort
That's awesome.
to send all these spores cascading across the rainforest to infect as many more as they can.
It's such a weird fungus. It lives just to explode, do it some more. It's
Yeah.
weird.
It takes over a creature from the inside, kills it, and then uses its body to achieve its goals. That ant is dead. That
Yep.
ant is dead before it's actually, quote unquote, dead after 4 to 10 days. The mortality. It's dead from the inside.
It's a weird fungus.
Thankfully, it only affects ants. But the problem with
Carpenter
nature,
ants,
and I believe
specifically.
Jeff Goldblum told us this, is that life finds a way.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's like, yeah, it only infects ants. It only works off ants. But something like that out there exists.
One genetic mutation,
Yeah.
and it gets into one person, and we have a real life happening, except that instead of going off to kill yourself, you go off to explode and infect more people.
You go out to explode yourself.
Just to infect more people. Can you
It's
imagine
weird.
the absolute decimation that would do to an urban center like New York?
It
With
spreads so
people
fast.
everywhere?
Spreads so fast.
Imagine a subway, and
Yeah.
one guy goes pop.
Or in just any
Just on the end of the street. Imagine just like
The ventilation.
Madison Square Garden, just boom. You know,
New
dude's
Year's
head-
Day.
Oh man, just one dude's head goes pop.
New
Everyone-
Year's Eve,
So many people are
poof.
infected, and then you got clickers running all over the place. It's weird. Yeah,
It's
so,
real.
In the for humans, you know that doesn't exist, but for bugs and insects, it's real. They have to worry about that. I'd hate to.
You all right there, Chief?
What?
You like losing it?
Yeah, because it's funny.
Zombies are funny? I don't think this is funny at all.
Stupid hat is. Shaun of the Dead is hilarious.
Shaun of the
Zombieland.
Dead was not a zombie.
Zombieland is great.
The zombies were not funny. The zombies were not funny in Zombieland either.
What the people were.
They killed his poor puppy.
Okay, why do you got to go to the one sad thing?
His son.
I know. I know.
How is that more sad than when he killed Bill Murray?
Oh, yeah, that was tragic.
Okay,
That was tragic.
and even Bill
guess
Murray
who-
on his way out, he still made a joke.
A fantastic joke.
who
was so
killed
funny.
Bill
Any
Murray?
regrets? Garfield, maybe?
Yeah, so funny.
All right.
Who killed Bill Murray? Not zombies.
It was that jerk who created Facebook.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg.
Eisenberg.
Try my style.
I know what I said.
What's your style? The new South Park. Oh,
Zombies. They're real.
man. All right, what were you going
They'll
to talk
get you.
about?
Haunted houses.
Ooh,
There's a lot of them. Spoopy houses.
Spoopy.
Spoopy.
We talked about this last episode. You pay to go in, and people scare you.
Not that haunted house.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna knock your hat off.
Moron. Stop. It's weird. Yeah, haunted houses. That's like one of the from the beginning of time. You know, that's like one of the things. It's like, well, not beginning of time. I would say like as me as a child, like it was like that house is scary. Like the house, the creepy house on the corner or whatever. You know, like that's the. Also, like reading R.L. Stein, Goosebumps. Made you put that image in your head of like the creepy house
Watching
on the corner,
Scooby Doo.
you know, yeah,
The dark house up on the hill, Victorian style.
and they all look the same.
Yeah.
Shutters.
Shutters.
Shutters means an evil house. I've
Yeah.
noticed.
If the any of the doors are crooked,
Yeah.
don't go in there. If there's a creaky gate, stay away. If there's a creaky gate like waist high, back up.
If people have been murdered there and the police
Don't go
can't
in
solve
there.
the mystery, don't go in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
No
wood
mailbox.
paneling.
Don't go in there.
If there's like a weeping willow, but it's dead, so there's no leaves, but there's all
Definitely
these
don't go in
branches,
there.
and it's just sitting there, don't go in there.
If there's a ghost that eats children, don't go in there.
If there's a sign out front that says there are no ghosts that eat children in here, it's probably a ruse. I wouldn't go in there.
That's a trick.
Yeah,
That's
If the paint is falling off, you can probably go in that one.
unless it's like melting off.
Yeah, then don't go in
don't
that
go
one.
in
if there's
there.
a bunch of people
No.
shuffling around, scratching their arms, that's a cracked in. That's a cracked in.
If it's got
you probably shouldn't go in there.
3 to 5 steps leading to the front door, don't go in that house.
What if it has 3 to 5 steps leading to the ceiling?
Definitely don't go there.
So
Because
it's-
you're in the
so
wrong
you're
house.
you're in MC Escher's house. Get out.
I know where you're going.
Oh, I'm hoping to lead you here,
Yeah.
but you just
That's a joke
With that-
nobody got.
I did.
I got it too. I just ignored it.
my
With
favorite
that,
MC.
what is one of the most famous houses out there?
The
White House.
Winchester.
Winchester House.
Shut up. Shut your
Okay,
mouth.
wait. I've thought about that. What if the White House is haunted?
It's not.
Some weird juju in it. That house is old.
I'll bet you it's a murder house. I will bet you it's a murder house.
You think the White House is a murder house?
You gonna tell me that nobody has ever died in the White House? Ever? With all the people that have lived there? Even like groundskeepers?
Nobody's ever been murdered.
Nobody's ever been
Okay,
murdered.
fine.
Yes.
The producer has a good
That's
point.
what I meant.
Okay,
But
that's a
also-
conspiracy
Okay,
theory.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not
okay,
gonna
Come
go
at us
there.
with some facts, bro.
Maybe it's not a murder house. I'll bet you it's a death house. I'm sure someone's died. 200 years?
That's every house that's over like 30 years old.
How old is the White House?
100.
Exactly. You may be right.
I'm just saying.
150.
Anyways,
But go back to the
Anyways,
Winchester because that is the quintessential
Winchester
creepy house.
Mansion. That place is so weird. We talked about it on the podcast before. It's a house that just had to just constant construction. Keep
That
going.
lady was
Keep
crazy.
on going. Keep on building. It was a house where what was her name? I'm sorry, it's escaping me right now. What was her first name?
I didn't need to do this research. That was on you.
Jeez. Okay. Everyone knows.
I don't know.
Was it an
actually.
M?
I can't remember.
Mary?
Anyways, essentially what happened, a family died or something like that in the house. God, I'm doing terrible right now. Sorry. There's a house that
The
there
people
was a
died
house
in.
that some lady died in.
Scary.
It's called the Winchester Mystery House. Is
Yep.
essentially what it's called by its like official name.
Yes.
Sarah Winchester.
Sarah.
Jeez. She was like she was
Absolutely crazy.
a widow, and she went like loopy, saying like she had to keep building her house, or like the ghost or something like that would like get her kill
Because
her
if
or
she
some
built
nonsense.
like doors
yeah.
into no wall, the door into a wall or stairways into the ceiling, the ghost would get lost and they wouldn't be able to find her and eat her.
Ghosts go through stuff.
She was crazy.
She was stupid.
Let's
Not knowing
see.
how ghosts work.
The Winchester Mystery House is a mansion in San Jose, California, which was the personal
ghost that
residence
got
of
caught in the
Sarah
sheets.
Winchester, the widow of gun creator William Winchester, located at 525 South Winchester Boulevard. Let's
It's
see.
easy.
Yeah.
That's an easy address for me. I live at the
525.
Winchester house. It's on Winchester Road.
Yeah, exactly. It's the mansion's known for its size, its architectural curiosities, and lack of any master building plan because it's everywhere.
Architectural
But this place
curiosities.
is huge. This place is massive. It's so big
How big
that
is it?
they just recently found another room
What was in the room?
in that house.
What's in the room?
It's in the box. But yeah, they just recently found something or another room in that house, and they're like, "Huh."
Is the
Years
house
and years.
so big that they found another room?
Or is the house still building
itself from within?
Oh my gosh.
If the house could do that, then why did she have to do it? Was it just lazy?
Yep.
It's just lazy house. Get to work, house. You killed that poor woman making you do stuff you could have done yourself.
Maybe she awoke it when she did all that stuff.
Oh, so the house is woke.
Af.
Oh, sweet. He supports Colin Kaepernick.
1900s is when it was being built. It reached a tower of seven stories tall.
Wow.
She continued her occupancy and expansion of the house,
That's actually
living
really
So
tall.
many stairs.
Yeah.
living in solitude with no one other than her servants, the workmen, and of course the spirits.
That's still a lot of people,
It's a lot
though.
of people.
For a 7-story house, like that's got to be at least like 30 servants.
She was kind of she was
Absolutely
wacko. She was
crazy?
like completely obsessed with the number 13.
bat guano
completely
insane.
obsessed with the number 13, which they
Like it's mathematical relevance,
right.
or just
like
it's
everything
like,
adds up to
ugh.
13. Like, the Jim Carrey.
Oh, that movie sucks.
This is, of course, before that movie.
Okay.
But yeah, she was like obsessed with it. It was all the windows contain 13 panes of glass, 13 panels.
So weird. So every window was circular.
Yep. 13 couples, 13
one pane
sections.
wasn't double pane?
Some of the rooms had 13 windows in every staircase, but one had 13 steps. The exception is unique in its own right. It is a winding staircase with 42 steps, which would normally be enough to take a climber up 3 stories. The steps only rise 9 feet because each step is only 2 inches high. It's like the house is like so crazy.
I feel like at some point the contractor's like, this lady's crazy. I'm just gonna take her for a ride and take all of her money.
Okay,
like just gonna build
here's
like
an
some
interesting
ridiculous
thing.
crap.
When did Douglas Adams write The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I don't know, in the
It was-
90s.
yeah, it was in the 80s and 90s. So he already knows. But the number 42 is the answer to life, universe, and everything.
Yeah,
The only staircase has 42 steps. That's not 13.
I mean, maybe, or it could just be a coincidence.
Could be.
So how this happened was Sarah was told that she had to sell her property in New Haven and head towards the setting sun. She would be guided by her husband, and when she found her new home in the West, she would recognize it. You must start a new life, said the medium, and build a home for yourself and for the spirits who have fallen from this terrible weapon too. You can never stop building the house. If you continue building, you will live. Stop and you will die. Because it was like the spirits from all the guns that her husband had made were like...
So because her husband
That's
invented
stupid.
that,
The grandchildren of Heckler and Koch are rich, and they
Yeah.
don't have any crazy
Oh, here
houses.
it is.
they also didn't go see a...
Your husband is here.
Seance.
She went and saw like a psychic or something like that.
They
I
use
can't
a Ouija
remember.
board.
But, oh my God. Your husband's here, she told her. He says for me to tell you that there is a curse on the family which took the life of he and her child. It will soon take her too. It's a curse that resulted from the terrible weapon created by the Winchester family. Thousands of persons have died because of it, and their spirits are now seeking vengeance. So if she stopped building her house, the spirits would take her.
Yeah, but she kept building her house and she died anyways.
Exactly.
So that's
Yeah, logic.
no. She died when she was like 60, didn't she?
Tell me what. When she died, what happened? She stopped building her house. Spirits took her.
Apparently not, since they just found a new room.
House is building itself now.
Oh, it's just a lazy house.
Maybe it's her spirit.
It's the spirits. Yeah, her spirits still building the house.
I really want to go there because I feel like I'd just be like, this is a crazy house.
Dude,
Crazy
that house
person
is
built.
nuts. There's like doors
actually been
that
there.
there's doors that open to doors who open to doors to open to a wall.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I love everything about
There are
that.
staircases that go upside down.
Talk.
You can just talk.
Do you have to go to the bathroom?
Fine.
You raised your hand.
Good.
Were you going to talk about H.H. Holmes?
Was I going to talk about H.H. Holmes?
It's a haunted house.
It is a murder hotel.
It's gone now, though.
Yeah, it is gone now.
Yeah. H.H. Holmes was a all-around douchebag who had like families in 3 different states and 1 in Canada that he just continuously abandoned.
Yeah.
And he was a con man, a murderer by some accounts before this, a thief, and
Sounds like an all-around great
yeah,
guy.
just a douche.
He's a cool guy.
And so
terrible
he,
guy.
he landed in Chicago during the time of the World's Fair, like 1916, 1923, some of the time in that period.
1893. Is
that it?
That's when the Chicago World's Fair was.
I know, but it went on for years. There were still people
Oh, yeah.
there. Like the Chicago World's Fair like lasted like a decade because of like all the stuff that happened, and because of travel and all that.
He had a wonderful thing
Yeah, he built a
called the Murder Castle.
so he built this elaborate hotel that people would stay in when they were going to check out terrible Chicago hot dogs and pizza.
But really cool welfare.
I brought it back.
There.
Yeah.
Brought it back.
And in it, he would create these elaborate mazes and traps in the rooms.
It's a trap.
And the way that he kept this secret was he kept killing the contractors who built the
Yeah.
rooms. Because they would
Wacko.
finish like the new like trapdoor room that would like drop you out of your bed and into like a vat of acid.
Or a
And
bed
be
of
like,
nails or
why,
something.
why am I building this? Oh yeah, this is why. And then just like
And
murder
then
the contractor.
dead, yeah.
So he went through like 10 contractors, and they say that there's never been an exact body count, but it's estimated somewhere over 100, less than 300 people murdered in this hotel, which was unfortunately or fortunately torn down after he was finally caught.
I mean,
Find all the bones?
No.
no. Well, no.
They're just saying it's an estimate because of the amount of people who stayed there and the amount of people who were never seen again.
Yeah.
Never checked that.
Oh, they checked
I
out.
mean,
all right.
how
I'm
would
live.
would you trust the
Stayed
hotel
there.
records of that guy? He's like, oh yeah, they checked out. It's like, okay, well, no one ever saw them again. Holmes,
Yeah.
Checked out.
He was
but they
actually.
checked out. It says right there. I wrote it. Like, you know what I mean? But it could.
He was
be,
actually the world's first, or American. I think he was like the world's first documented serial killer.
aside from Jack the Ripper. It was America's first serial
America's
killer.
first documented
Yes.
serial killer.
Yes,
Not the world's.
that's
sorry.
true.
But yeah.
The other thing is that
He was out of his
there
mind.
was a study actually done that a lot of people, because there was a rumor about the hotel for years before he was caught.
Yeah.
So I forget, I think it was someone at Brown who did this study, that a lot of these people ended up turning back up who thought that he was killed, and they would go to Chicago and use the like mystery of this like street where people kept disappearing as a way to just like start a new life,
Right.
and ditch their families.
God.
So,
And then dead.
well, no, they would just go there like, oh, I'm going to Chicago, I'm staying here, and write a letter to the family, and they'd be like, all right, they'll just assume I'm dead.
Oh.
And then just like start a new life in like California or something, you know what I mean? Or in Chicago.
That's the way to do it.
Because this is
If you're gonna start a new life, go somewhere where you know people are dying.
because there was a man, I forget the exact, it was like in the 1920s. He faked his death by like ditching all of his stuff like near a cliff, so it would seem as if he
fell off.
He fell off. And he moved like 20 miles to the next town over and just started a new life.
No one knew.
And then like 10 years later, his son was just happened to be there and he saw him. He's like, what the hell? Like just 20 miles away.
Can you imagine that?
So,
what the heck?
what the heck, Dad?
Dad.
Where you been for 10 years?
Go back to all my baseball games.
That line at Walmart ain't no joke.
Let me do this creepy one.
All right, for sure.
love
We need to
creepy
wrap up
things.
here pretty quick.
I know, but this one's
I'll
good.
let you do this creepy one.
A man was found beheaded on February 8th, 1981 in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
The police also found parts of a headless chicken at the crime scene. Some of it stuffed into the
Ozzy?
victim's body.
That doesn't sound like
Nope.
Audi.
Before 80, this is 81. Before. A police expert in occultism proposed a theory that black magic was involved. She
They
predicted.
had police experts in occultism?
Do you want me to finish? Can I get through this?
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
She predicted that the head of the victim would be used as a ritual object by the practitioners and that it would be returned after 42 days.
42.
The other detectives laughed at her idea. True enough, the head was returned at the crime scene 42 days later.
What? Okay, she did it.
No police officer was there to make the arrest. No one. And it remains unsolved.
She did it. It was
Hey,
her.
what year was that?
81.
Dang. No, it could have been Ozzy. Because Blizzard of Oz debuted in September 20th, 1980 in the UK.
Okay. What was this?
Ozzy!
When was their
Biting
first
chickens' heads
American
off.
tour? 82?
It was her.
81.
No, because
totally her.
they went after her at first. They're like, oh, it must have been you. And she's like, no, I have alibis for both those nights. One of the alibis was that she was at the police station.
She planned it.
They're the dummies.
It.
She's like, it'll be there 42 days from now. They're like, psh, dummy. And then it was.
If she was at the police station, she could have had somebody helping her.
Truth.
Why? To what purpose?
I don't know. She
To
They didn't
murder
even listen.
people.
They didn't even She didn't know the person.
doesn't. Okay. Do all murderers know the people that they murder?
Statistically, most of them.
Yeah, he's got you there.
He's got you there.
Statistically, most of them.
That's most, not all.
I want to be a
He's
serial.
got you there.
I
me.
want to. Oh man, I should have been a serial killer for Halloween, because then I could have just got boxed cereal and stabbed it. That'd have been the best
All right.
Best costume ever.
Here's one more horrible
You got
one.
it, cat guy.
In
Dies,
1996, this one's a little.
When is this one?
1996.
Wow.
96.
Yeah.
This is like only 20 years ago.
Yeah. Zach Ramsey disappeared
Old.
on his way to school in
Ramsey.
Great Falls, Montana. Known child molester Nathaniel Barr Jonah was suspected of kidnapping him, but there wasn't enough evidence to obtain a warrant, and eventually the case went cold. In 1999, 3 years later, Barr Jonah was arrested on unrelated charges, and during that investigation, Zach's name was found on a list of children in Barr Jonah's handwriting. Police also found coded Yeah, it gets worse. Police also found coded messages in his possession that, when deciphered, read, quote unquote, little boy pot pie.
Good.
And lunch is served on the patio with roasted child, leading police to theorize that he had served him to guests at a barbecue. A meat grinder was found in Barr Jonah's possession that had human hair in it, and the bones of a child were found buried at his former residence. Oh my God. DNA tests showed that the bones did not belong to Zach Ramsey.
Oh no.
Though convicted of other charges, there was no evidence connecting Barr Jonah and with Ramsey's disappearance.
Nothing solid.
The identity of the discovered bones and Zach Ramsey's fate are unknown to this day.
Because
What
they don't
a
have any
nutter.
DNA to test them against.
That dude's out of his mind.
No, they did.
No,
The
but-
bones don't match.
Exactly. But there's nothing to test for the bones. They have the bones DNA, but whoever they're trying to match it to isn't in a database. So it's just spinning
That is
forever.
it's a
gnarly.
kid. So
But yeah, it just spins
Dude,
forever.
people are demented.
the,
People can't figure out why I don't like people.
there's a
People
great,
kill people and
there's a
turn them into
great one.
pies
in the
and soup.
Little boy
in the
Popeye.
70s, there's a great story of like comeuppance in Skidmore, Missouri. There was a guy, Ken McElroy, just unanimously hated by everyone in town.
Poor guy.
No, he was a douche.
Oh, not
He was
poor guy.
accused of theft, violence, pedophilia, and just general like scumbaggery.
That's a crime.
Somehow he managed
10 years for
to
scumbaggery.
elude the law, but apparently the citizens of Skidmore
Okay.
had enough. So
They hang him?
No, he was gunned down in the street by two quote unquote unknown shooters.
Okay.
There were 45 witnesses
And no one saw anything.
to the murder, and by some coincidence, they all didn't see anything.
Everyone hated him so much that someone gunned him down
In
in, the middle of the street,
of Main
in the middle
Street,
of day,
50 people watching,
and
they're like,
everybody was like,
I didn't see
I
nothing.
didn't see anything.
I didn't see
The
nothing.
town killed him.
Yeah.
The
The
town
town
killed
killed him.
What about that one punch dude?
Oh, yeah. There was the story of the Canadian
That's an
contractor
Oh, the dude that punched that dude in the stomach
90s. He one day, like, he arrives at his friend's house, like, in a panic, like, begging them to take him across the border, like, into America. And the friend's like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. So somehow the guy gets across the border into America, and he, like, drives across, like, 3 states until he, like, rents a motel, doesn't go into the room, is found like several days later, like 2 miles away from the
Yeah.
motel, like having never gone in, dead. The only signs of foul play are bruising on his abdomen from one punch.
Good punch.
One punch to the abdomen
swift
killed him.
punch to the stomach.
Which you're like, okay, Houdini died from a punch to the gut. Because he used to
Right.
do that trick where he could like tense up his muscles and he would like not feel any pain.
Yeah.
No. This dude got punched so hard that it ruptured 80% of his internal organs. His kidney,
got
his
punched by Goku,
stomach,
dude.
his liver,
only
his
explanation.
bladder,
Which is not
small
physically
intestine.
possible.
Like, no one can hit that hard
That's
He
not
got punched by
physically
Goku,
possible.
dude.
to rupture
or One Punch
all
Man.
his internal organs. One punch.
Poor guy. And no one knows.
No, yeah, unsolved to this day because police are like, oh, okay, we're looking for.
Is there ever gonna get to a point to where like these unsolved like stories will literally just be like, bah, they're just stories now. They don't matter anymore.
I don't know. I mean,
think?
because there's some modern.
Because some of these happen in like, the 1800s are like, okay, no one's alive from that era.
We're still talking about him now.
What about
Ripper,
what about
you know, it's
what about Georgy Markov?
Oh,
He was the. This was only like what 5 years ago.
Something like that,
He
yeah.
was the BBC reporter.
Yeah.
He's Bulgarian journalist, and he defected to England, and he became BBC broadcaster, and he would like mock communism and like Putin's an idiot, blah blah blah, all this stuff, like talking
Putin,
crap on it.
Vladimir
And then while
Putin.
waiting for a bus, a pellet full of poisonous ricin was shot into his leg using a high-tech umbrella gun.
it's
And
Penguin.
Assassinate.
He died a few days later,
Penguin.
and the killer was never found.
I can neither confirm nor
Like
deny
that's
that.
some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Making an umbrella gun and then shooting
It's the
someone
Penguin.
with ricin.
It's the Penguin.
Like that's a lot of planning for like you could just stab somebody in the neck.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nope. I'll get an umbrella
But
gun
to
and
do
shoot him
it-
with ricin.
in a bus stop.
Yeah.
Crowded, full of people.
I know, but still, it's just like there's
Everybody around,
simply-
rah, rah.
Just get a high-powered rifle from a building. Like
And with
there's
that,
simpler ways to kill someone.
we do need to end. We'll just talk about
Our spoopy
people dying
episode.
and mentions that I can't remember the origins to, Ouija boards, etc., 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 and zombies that take over ants. Thank you guys for listening to us rant and rave about all these awesome things. We appreciate you guys so much. That's not a word. Appreciate. We appreciate you guys so much. Everyone, please, this year, have a safe Halloween. Check your kids' candy. And just be safe. There's so many wacko.
You want me to do that one really quick?
What's that? Well, sure.
Okay.
Not
Not
trying to wrap up or anything.
The razor. Well, this needs to be said. The razor blade in the candy myth originates with one child who died in Long Island, New York, in the '60s, and after a thorough investigation, it was found that his dad did it. His dad put
yeah.
the razor blade in his own son's candy because he's a.
No, it was razor
It
blade.
was a razor blade.
Yeah. Now, I do say, like, normally I wouldn't say anything, but you know
But
what?
you should.
There's some people, society's gotten nuts. People are crazy.
Society's always been nuts. You just have.
Keep your kids safe.
Yeah.
If you go out as, a teenager and you're listening to this, check your candy, dude or girl. Like, just check your candy. Like, it's not worth it.
If you take your kids
Like,
out, just make sure you're safe.
If
Walk
anything-
where there's street lights. Try to go
Yeah.
somewhere where there's sidewalks, and just be aware of cars.
Yeah.
As
Go
a
with-
driver,
go with the people.
watch for kids.
Yep.
You don't want to be that guy who hit someone on Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, please everyone just be safe this year. Halloween's all about having
Yeah,
fun.
Dia de los Muertos. That's Day of the Dead. You're good. Kill him on that day.
Halloween's all about having fun, getting candy, dressing up, being weird for a couple hours, on an evening. Just be safe. We care about you guys. And that's all I can really say.
We'll be back.
We'll be back next week.
will
You
we?
can find the
It's a
podcast
mystery.
on iTunes and Google Play, as well as Podbean. You can find the links to all of our social media by clicking the link right here in the corner. It's reallylikablegeeks.com. You can find our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., all at that website. You can find me on Twitter at that Stephen Brown.
You can find the guy Matt, who I'm sitting in for, usually avoiding Twitter, at Believe the Weave.
You can find the handsome Stuart at Stu_ no last name. I'm Han Solo.
And he shot first.
And I shot first. Han Solo shot first.
It is no longer a mystery. Solved.
Wasn't even a mystery.
All right, thanks, everyone. Bye.